today we're going to be making fajitas. And so we're going to start off with knife skills again, practicing the things that we learned the other day. And we're going to be cutting a few different things. We're going to be cutting up some onions and a bell pepper, and then we're going to also be cutting up our chicken. Now, whenever we are cutting things up, it's always best to deal with all your fruits or vegetables first before you start cutting up your meat. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've already used the bridge hold, and I've cut an onion in half, and then I quartered it. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this onion into long, thin slivers. And to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to rotate it up and around the onion as I cut to the center. And I'm going to use the claw grip to hold on to it, but I'm going to try to carefully cut with a light sawing action back and forth into the onion to cut it safely, and just go slow as you work your way up, and you'll see you'll cut the onion into some really nice slivers. You can also use the bridge hold if you need to, if you feel safer. Just be careful you don't cut your fingers. So that was a quarter of an onion. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put on the stove. I'm gonna add in about roughly a teaspoon of oil to the frying pan just to help cook up the onion. And then I'm gonna turn that on to a medium heat and allow those onions to start cooking up. Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna prepare my pepper. And what I might suggest is for you to prepare everything first, because you might be a little bit slower as it's your first time, and then start to cook. So next I'm gonna cut my pepper. I'm gonna cut the top off first, so you can use a bridge hold or a claw grip. And I'm gonna go ahead, I cut the top off first so that I can then take my fingers in there and twist out the center of the bell pepper. I'm not gonna waste anything else. I'm gonna give this a quick rinse. Push the filling into the side. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cut this pepper in half. I only need about a half a pepper. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use that draw where my finger goes on top. I'm gonna get it next to here. I'm gonna pull the pepper or my knife back as I cut the pepper into these long, thin strips of green pepper. Now my green pepper is ready. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna toss that in with the onion. Make sure you mix it back and forth. I'm also going to cut up the top of the bell pepper. I don't want to waste anything. So again, I'm just going to use my claw grip, cutting it into nice, long, thin strips, and then tossing that in with the onion as well. So I'll allow that to continue cooking. I'm going to move this to the side. I don't need this anymore. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my chicken. To cut your chicken, I've got some chicken tenderloin here. I've got 3 pieces. It's going to make enough for 2 people, I would say. If you want to increase the portion, you can definitely do that. Again, claw grip, use your hand. I'm going to use the blade grip this time again. Remember, thumb and pointer finger on each side. And I'm just going to cut this chicken into long, thin strips of chicken. Now I'm only handling the chicken with one hand and my knife with the other one so that I can keep touching other things without having to worry about burning anything. Now, if your peppers and onions are cooking really fast and it's getting too hot, you can add in just a little bit of water, just about a teaspoon or a tablespoon maximum, just to add a little bit of moisture so they don't burn, and allow the steam to cook up the vegetables a little bit further. But sometimes what happens is your pan gets too hot and it wants to burn your vegetables before they've actually softened up. So I have these long thin strips. These are perfect for making fajitas. I'm gonna toss them back in the bowl and grab out my other 2 pieces. I'm gonna continue cutting. So again, just long, thin strips, like so. Again, I'm only handling chicken with my left hand. So this hand is always remaining clean. So when I go to touch the tap or anything, I can turn it on with my clean hand and not worrying about contaminating it with anything like salmonella that comes from raw chicken. So I'm gonna wash my hands and then we're gonna season up the chicken. Okay, I'm back. I'm gonna now take some fajita seasoning mix. And I'm gonna open this up. scissors. And I'm gonna add in about 2 teaspoons of fajita seasoning into my chicken. And then I'm gonna take and I'm gonna just stir that in to make sure that they're all seasoned well. You can also add in a little bit of water to help make sure that it mixes in. Don't add too much, but you just want to get all that seasoning in there, and so that when you pour it into the frying pan, it's going to come along with it too. So just a little bit, maybe a teaspoon at maximum. Don't forget about your vegetables. These are sauteed up really nicely now. I'm going to push them to the one side, and I'm going to now add in all of my chicken to this side. So I'm going to try and lay the chicken as flat as I can. And again, if the pan is getting too hot and you're worried about the vegetables burning, go ahead, add in a little bit of water again to prevent that from happening as you continue to cook. I like to keep the chicken on one side so I can keep an eye on it to make sure that it's all fully cooked before I mix everything together. So we want to keep the chicken on one side so that we can keep an eye on it and know that it's fully cooked. And I know it's fully cooked by sight, obviously, if it's no longer pink. So that's going to be our main way that we're going to check it. If you are really technical and you have a thermometer at home, you can put a thermometer inside and make sure it gets up to around 80 degrees Celsius. But for the case, what we're going to do and what most people would do at home, we're just going to use sight. And so I want to make sure it's completely white on both sides. And then I'm going to take some of the larger pieces and I'll break them in half or cut them in half and make sure that it's cooked all the way to the center. Because the worst thing that would happen is if you served raw chicken, because somebody could get really sick from salmonella poisoning. The chicken has been cooking for some time now, and I think it's fully cooked. So what I'm going to just do is I'm going to take a few pieces, I'm going to push it and break it in half like that, and then I'm going to see that the inside of the actual chicken is fully cooked and fully white. That looks good. And don't just check one, check a couple pieces. There's another one. Looks fully cooked inside. And that should be good. So now I'm going to shut the heat off and I'm going to show you how to plate it up. I'm also going to mix up all the onions and peppers with the chicken and then get ready to plate up my dish. Before you plate up anything, please make sure you've cleaned it all up and you take a towel and you wash or disinfect it, because you don't want the raw chicken juice that we just cut on the chopping board anywhere near the cooked food that you're going to be serving to your guests. So wipe it up well, make sure you use sanitizer or some soap and clean it really well before you serve. All right, it's time to plate up our tortilla. So to do this, we're gonna need a few ingredients I've picked up. You don't have to have it, but I would highly recommend, if you can, find some sour cream. So I got some sour cream here, and then I also picked up some salsa. You can do mild or spicy, whatever you like. And then obviously we're gonna need some tortilla shell. So pick that up as well. Once you have your shell, just go ahead, you can take it out, place it in onto your plate. You're going to get a little bit of sour cream, place it in the center and spread it along. If you don't like sour cream, you don't have to have it. Like I said, I'm gonna now take a little bit of salsa and do the same, spread it back and forth. And then I'm gonna take out some of my chicken. And I like to make sure that every one of my tortilla gets a good amount of chicken. So I put some chicken on first, along with some of the bell pepper and onion, like so. Now, I try to actually push everything up 2 fingers from the end so that it's easier for me to go ahead and wrap it. So when I go to wrap it now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this end and I'm going to fold it over, and then I'm going to take this side closest to me and I'm gonna push it over to the other end. I'm gonna press it down, tuck the food inside and pull it back. After I've pulled it back, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna roll up the tortilla, and there I have a really nice tortilla wrapped up. Now it's a little bit messy on the plate, but you can go ahead and serve these out individually on nice plates. And there you have it. Your fajita is ready to enjoy.